We will start this meeting of the Unsafe Building Commission Tuesday, April 16th of 2024 at 10 a.m. Can we have the roll call, please?
Dwayne Heater.
Here.
Diane Whitehead.
Here.
Rhonda Dooning.
Here.
Do we have any questions? We have the minutes from the last meeting on March 19th. Were there any corrections or questions?
If there aren't any corrections or comments, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of Tuesday, March 19th.
So second?
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Ms. Vessels, do you have the proof of publication?
Yes, sir. These notices were published in advance. They state the time, date, place, and the items on the agenda for today's hearings. I do have two proofs of publication, so I would ask the board to make a motion to accept both proofs of publication.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Anybody that is here to speak on a property, please stand, and Ms. Vessels will swear you in.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury that the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay. We have no old business, so we start with the new business. Property at 1020 Butler Street. It's a repair and or remove. Cedric James.
Thank you. This property is located at 1020 Butler Street. This is the east side front of the house. The property has been boarded up in the front. The south side, from the front of the property, looking directly in the south side, you can of the house, you can see there's an opening at the peak. The upper parts of the house are unfinished, and you can see deteriorating OSB board that are exposed to the elements. There were reports of raccoons, birds, and other animals coming and going from the property through the window that is partially sealed. This is a closer look at the partially unsecured window where the animals may have been coming and going. It's the north side of the house. From the front of the property, looking directly into the north side of the house, where you can see there is also an opening at the peak. The upper parts of the house are also unfinished, and you can see deteriorating OSB that are exposed to the elements. This picture shows the rear of the house. It is also unfinished. For reference, this is the east side on 2020. The front of the home is the same condition as it is today, as it was in 2020. The same with the exception that the two windows at the base of the house were boarded and one window was partially boarded. This is the west side in 2020, broken window at the rear of the house, and it was in the same condition in 2020. And that's just for reference. This is as it is today. The front of the home has all new siding, doors, and windows. North side of the home has new siding, so all repairs were made. The south side of the home also has new siding and new windows. The west side of the home has new siding, windows, and door. This is a property that was showing signs of neglect and deterioration for an extended amount of time. There were complaints from the neighbors about animals and birds coming and going from the property, causing concern about the property and the condition it was in. Contact was established with the owner on February 22nd, 2024, I had sent an email to Ahmed Basgia with a list of repairs that, if fixed, would bring the property back into compliance with city code. All the items on the list were repaired by the owner. So at this time, I'm formally requesting that the members of the Unsafe Building Commission rescind the order for the repair or removal of the house located at 1020 Butler Street due to the repairs that were made by the owner.
Do we have anybody here to speak on this property?
I'll make a motion that we,
Well, I was going to ask, we don't have one to rescind.
no, we'll just make the motion to rescind the order, and that's
Okay.
it.
Okay, I know there's a formal.
Just make a motion to rescind the order to repair or remove the property at 1020 Butler.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carried.
Happy ending.
Yeah, I would have had to ask. Okay, so the next property is at 116 Randolph Street, new owner cost hearing. Inspector Ritchie?
This property was previously affirmed for the costs of the previous owner. It had been transferred to a new owner in between the time that we had come to the hearing last time and now. So the new owner is Casa Rica Investments LLC, and I will just recap what the property looked like before when I did the emergency cleanup and sealing and boarding on this property. You can see there was litter, trash, and debris in the front right side and the east side of the property. Again, junk, trash, personal belongings, clothes, etc. on the porch in the east side of the yard. In the back, there were mattresses, broken doors, debris, grocery carts. This is on the north side of the property or the backyard. The property also smelt of urine and feces. You can see here the back door was unsecure. And now this is the front of the house or the south side of the house afterwards. See, everything's been boarded and sealed. Same thing, the yard has been cleaned up. You can see there's nothing on the porch or the side of the yard, and all of the doors and windows have been boarded up. There's the backyard. Everything's been cleaned up back there, and the back door was secured. Here's a copy of the original contract and the title search. Here's a demand letter. You can see now that the Casa Rica Investments LLC is the new owner on Beacon. And the law department did send out a demand for payment and also let them know the date of the hearing. And you can see here that there have been certified letters that were sent and someone did sign for them. So we are respectfully asking the Unsafe Building Commission to make a motion to affirm an amount not to exceed $2,940 for the costs associated with the emergency cleanup and sealing of the property located at 116 Randolph Street, Richmond, Indiana, to Casa Rica Investments LLC. $1,740 were for administrative costs. $1,200 was the contractor charges, which brings the total to $2,940.
We have anybody here to speak on this property? We have any questions?
So
Okay.
this one here?
Sure, yeah.
This one? Mm-hmm. I make a motion to affirm and acknowledge administrative line cost to apply to the property located at 116 Randolph Street, owned by Casa Rica LLC, as a current owner of the premises, in the amount of $2,940.
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. The next property is 118 North 17th Street. It's a cost hearing. Inspector Ritchie?
This is a Ballinger property. I had originally done a cleanup on this property, but when I was in the process of doing that, the garage actually had caught on fire. So you can see in the picture on the right, it's bigger for you. Picture on the right where it had collapsed from the fire. This is in the backyard near the alley. Again, fire damage, you can see. And the garage was packed full of stuff. I'm assuming that's probably how it caught on fire. And there were a lot of junk parts and debris in the backyard when I was in the process of trying to do the cleanup. You can see there were combustibles. And on the south side of the house, there's some doors there. And then also on the north side of the house, you can see debris. So the after pictures, this is the front of the house or the east side of the house. Sorry. And then this is the north side of the property. You can see where they cleaned that up. And here's in the backyard or the west side of the property. And here you can see where they have torn down the garage and put down grass and seed. Here's a title search showing the owners. That's the Ballingers. Here is a receipt for the cost of tearing down the garage. Here's a copy of the contract. This is a notice of the hearing that was sent out and published in the paper. Here is a demand for payment letter that was sent to the Ballingers. This is also giving them the dollar amount and letting them know that there would be a hearing on April 16th. So we respectfully ask the Unsafe Building Commission to make a motion to affirm the costs associated with the emergency action taken to tear down the garage and clean up the fire debris located at 118 North 17th Street, Richmond, Indiana, in an amount not to exceed $3,490. $1,740 were the administrative costs, and $1,750 was the fee to the contractor for the emergency demo, making it a total of $3,490.
We have anybody here to speak on the property at 118 North 17th Street? Any other questions? Okay, I make a motion to affirm and acknowledge the administrative lien costs to be applied to the property located at 118 North 17th Street, Richmond, Indiana, owned by Donald Jr. and Brian Ballinger as the new, no, that's the, okay. That's for new owners. Okay, never mind. Make a motion to affirm the submitted amount of the costs and claims for payment associated with the prior. Which one's the right one on this one? Because this is
That
by
was a
new owners.
Cost hearing for emergencies.
Okay, so it is an emergency.
A cost hearing for the emergency.
Okay. Okay, I make a motion to affirm the submitted amount of the costs, claims for payment associated with the prior emergency actions taken by the enforcement authority for the property located at 118 North 17th Street in Richmond, Indiana, which includes the actual costs incurred and the administrative processing expenses permitted by Indiana code.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. The next property is 618 South E Street, cost hearing. Inspector Ritchie?
This property at 618 South E Street, I had actually had two cleanups before this happened. This property is owned by John W. Reeves, who is deceased, I believed, and a Jeffrey W. Qualls and Sabrina M. Crocker were buying this property on contract. You can see there was fire damage, broken and missing windows to the east side of the property. I had also been contacted by Joe Buckler from the fire department, telling me that this property was unsafe, and he was afraid that the top of the roof might collapse. You can see that the 2x4s from the supporting joists were almost 100% charred. And you could see through the roof of the property. Like I had stated before, this was the second cleanup at this property. The first cleanup was done a month prior, October 18th of 2023. And in less than a month, it looked like this on the outside from all of the junk and rubbish and debris that they had. Again, more trash and debris on the north side of the property, and in the backyard. You could see there were flammables present on the east side of the property as well, generator, paint cans. Now this property has been demolished and cleaned up. You can see that the grass seed and straw had been put down. And here is a copy of the title search and also a copy of the contract from the contractor. In these documents, this is the order for the claims for payment, stating the dollar amount that is owed, and that we will be having a hearing today on April 16th at 10 a.m. Here's a copy of the publication to the right. So we are respectfully asking the Unsafe Building Commission to make a motion to affirm the costs associated with the emergency action taken to tear down the house. And there was a fence also there, and to clean up the debris at 618 Southeast Street, Richmond, Indiana, in an amount not to exceed $12,690. The administrative costs were the $1,740, and the emergency demo was $10,950, making it a total of $12,690.
We have anybody here to speak on this property at 618 Southeast Street? Have any questions?
I have a question for Sherry. You said these are contract folks that own the property. Is the original title owner on there as well?
Yes,
Okay, so is that?
that's the John W. Reeves.
That's the Reeves, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So I just want to clarify that, okay, good. Other questions?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So John Reeves is the owner, and then the other two are contracted
Contract.
buying from him.
Yeah, right, mhm.
Okay. So the cost doesn't just go to the owner, it goes to the contract people? I'm just curious.
So when we filed the lien, it is noted in the lien, everybody who has a vested interest. And so they would all be listed, and I can't remember off the top of my head if there's any mortgage holders, but usually I think it's just the owners and perhaps the mortgage holders, but really it's current owner, contract seller, contract purchaser. That's the type of thing where we kind of rope them all in because they did submit themselves to having a contract interest.
Cool.
Thank you. Okay, any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to affirm and submit the amount of the cost and claims for the payment associated with the prior emergency action taken by the emergency authority of the property located at 618 South E Street in Richmond, Indiana, which includes the cost, which includes the actual cost incurred and administrative processes, expenses permitted by the Indiana Code.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. The next property is at 1025 East Main Street, another cost hearing. Inspector Ritchie?
Yes, I was contacted by the Richmond Police Department about this property due to vagrants or squatters living in this property. As you can see here, there are open windows, unsecured, that were in the front of the property or on the north side of the property. And then this is also The picture to the right was on the west side of the property. Inside, you could see drug paraphernalia, where people were living in here and, using some more pictures of drug paraphernalia. In the back, or the south side of the property, there's overgrown vegetation, and there was a bunch of rubbish and debris, a lot of grocery carts. On the back stairwell, you could see in the right that the door was unsecure. The fencing or the missing spindles from the handrails. And then also the steps were unsafe. So we had the contractor come and board and seal it up. We also had them tear down the railing and the steps to the property and had them take out all the overgrown vegetation. It just makes it harder to see people when they're back there. So now that it's all opened up, you can see if there's, activity or people around. So here are the after pictures of the front of the property, or the north side of the property. Here's a picture of the east side of the property in the middle, and then the south side in the back. And here is the documents for the title search. Here's the contract with the contractor. And here's the demand for payment letter. And then also stating the dollar amount and the review for the scheduled hearing for today. And to the right is a notice for the legal advertising. So we respectfully ask the Unsafe Building Commission to make a motion to affirm the costs associated with the emergency action taken to tear down the back stairwell, remove of all the overgrown vegetation, and to board and seal the property and the unsecured doors and windows located at 1025 East Main Street, Richmond, Indiana, in an amount not to exceed $8,240. $1,740 were the administrative costs, and $6,500 was for the emergency demo. Gosh.
Who'd you say the owner was?
It's J.M. Bach,
Investment.
J.M. Bach Investments, Inc.
Do we have anybody here to speak on this property at 1025 East Main Street? Have any questions? Okay. Let's see. I make a motion to affirm the submitted amount of the cost and claims for payment associated with the prior emergency actions taken by the enforcement authority for the property located at 1025 East Main Street, Richmond, Indiana, which includes the actual costs incurred and the administrative processing expenses permitted by Indiana code.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. The next property is 2232 Grand Boulevard. It's an emergency cleanup, or cleaning and sealing. Inspector Henry.
Good morning.
Morning.
2232 Grand Boulevard, we were taking steps to do an emergency cleaning and sealing. However, at the last moment, the owner decided to take care of that, and that property has been sealed up and cleaned up. So we will remove that from our agenda today.
That one needs to be rescinded like the other one?
So it was just an emergency or a potential emergency action, so no order has been issued.
Okay.
Okay,
So really, we just need to
move on.
move on.
Okay, well, that's good news. Thank you. Any questions? Anybody here to speak on the property at 2232 Grand Boulevard? Okay, thank you. The next property is 212 South 13th Street, cost hearing. Inspector Henry?
212 South 13th Street, Richmond, Indiana. The owner is Acadian Land Holdings. This property has been before the USB back in October 2023 for demolition. We are now seeking restitution for the cost of demo and administrative fees under Resolution 1-2024, which allows us to collect such fees. This property was vacant for several years. The structure had fallen into disrepair and neglect. Homeless people had taken over the property, most notably the backyard and garage area. The smell of feces and urine was overwhelming. The following pictures and documentation will justify collecting such fees. This is the front of the structure at 212 South 13th. As you can see, it's been overgrown quite often, and the city had to take steps to mow it. It just shows the condition to the front of the property. These are pictures of the backyard. You can see trash and debris and tires and such in the backyard. Picture on the left is the garage, which in itself is full of trash, debris, strong smell of feces. The picture on the right, which is the north side of the property, you can see more neglect as there's holes in the roof. Picture on the left, again in the backyard, there were tents where they were sleeping there. The hole in the ground, which is circled, was a clean out for the sewer system, and they were trying to use that to discard feces and urine. Of course, on the right in the backyard, they had a makeshift toilet, and the property was quite disgusting. This is just a picture on the left is the garage to the rear of the structure from the alley. On the right, between the garage and another shed, there was an area up in there that trash and debris, and it covered feces. They tried to hide it, but the smell was overwhelming. And this is the north side of the property. As you can see, the vegetation growing all the way down this fence line. The vegetation was pretty thick, so that allowed people to camp in that backyard and not be seen. Documentation. Of course, on the left is resolution number 1-2024 that allows us to collect any demolition fees and administrative costs. On the right is an invoice from Cox Excavating for $13,300. We also have a contract that was signed for $13,300. Purchase order on the left for the same amount. Also publication, proof of publication on the right. Demolition cost, again, was $13,300 with administrative cost of $1,740 for a total of $15,040. I asked the Unsafe Building to make a motion to affirm cost of demolition and administrative costs not to exceed $15,040.
Are there any questions?
Oh, yeah. Are there any, is there anybody here to speak on the property at 212 South 13th Street? Do we have any questions or comments? Okay, do I have a motion?
Make a motion to affirm the submitted amount of the cost and claims for payment associated with the prior emergency action taken by the enforcement authority for the property located at 212 South 13th Street, which includes the actual cost incurred and the administrative processing expenses permitted by Indiana Code.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. The next property is 218 North 20th Street. It's an emergency cleanup ceiling. Inspector Henry?
Thank you. 218 North 20th Street, Richmond, Indiana. Owners were Paul and Hope Sparks. Property suffered a fire that was deemed an arson. Property was located in close proximity to Star School, and emergency steps was taken to seal and clean up the property. The pictures here indicate the front of the structure facing east. You can see the severe damage to the property. There was also a fatality that happened at this property during the fire. The picture in the middle depicts the porch area. And of course, on the right was more damage to the property. And the picture on the left, again, another angle of the porch area in the front of the house. And on the right, you can see where those areas that were exposed and open were sealed and cleaned up. So at this time, I ask you to affirm the action taken by the Code Enforcement Department.
Is there anybody here to speak on the property at 218 North 20th Street? Do we have any questions? Any comments? Do I have a motion?
Make-
Go ahead.
You want-
Go ahead.
Make a motion to affirm the emergency action taken by the Enforcement Authority for the property located at 218 North 20th as recommended by the Enforcement Authority and based upon the information provided by the Enforcement Authority with respect to the condition of the property.
I'll second. All,
Go ahead.
sorry. Say yeah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. The next property is 1,214 North D Street. It's a cost hearing. Inspector Henry?
Thank you. 1214 North D Street, Richmond, Indiana. Owner was Mr. Donald Summers. Property suffered a horrendous fire, 6/6/23. The damage was so severe that emergency steps was taken to remove the structure. This is the front of the property at 1214 North D, and you can see where part of the roof had collapsed. Picture on the right is the southwest corner of the second floor. Again, you can note the severe damage to the structure. Part of the second floor had collapsed, and just more pictures of the damage that happened during the fire. A picture on the left was along the alley on the west side of the structure, and that wall was leaning pretty badly at the time. And on the right was after the property had been demoed and seeded. B&B Construction was the only contractor available to remove the structure on a moment's notice. The following documents will show the cost incurred to do so. And again, resolution number 1-2024 also authorizes the city to collect administrative fees along with demo fees. On the left, again, a copy of resolution number 1-2024. The letter on the right, notice of emergency removal of unsafe structure. An invoice from B&B Construction for $15,000 even. And on the right is a contract with B&B with the same amount of $15,000. On the left is proof of publication. On the right, a purchase order issued to B&B Construction for $15,000. Demolition costs along with the administrative cost of $1,740 for a total of $16,740. We asked the Unsafe Building Commission to make a motion to affirm cost of demo and administrative costs for 1214 North D Street.
We have anybody here to speak on the property at 1214 North D? Sir, could you come to the podium and state your name, please?
I am Donald Summers.
Thank you, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
You have something to say in regard to the property? You agree with everything that Inspector Henry?
I agree there was a fire. I agree that it needed to be taken care of. They did a fine job taking care of it. I also, you could see in the picture of the house next door, I own that also. And had planned to get that fixed up and rent it out, but I had a rough year last year.
Mhm.
I own 5 houses within a block right there. A long-term good renter suddenly stopped paying, and when they moved out, I found out for the first time I got to experience getting rid of bed bugs. And they also had roaches in there. And so I've been dealing with that. And also had a person who had contracted with me to fix up one of the other properties. That didn't work out at all. They didn't get the electric and the water turned on, decided they wanted to start trying to live in there without my knowledge. So had to boot them out, and it was a rough year last year.
Sounds like it. Yeah.
But I will say that I'm very proud that in the years that I've owned those properties, you've seen these pictures with all the needles and stuff. I used to pick those up by the dozens. In the last 2 years, I've probably picked up 2.
That's good.
And along with some of the neighbors that are in between my properties, that entire 2-block area looks a lot better than it used to. I purchased a couple empty lots, cleaned those up, and will continue to move along as I can.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for the work that you're doing. Anything else, Mr. Summers?
No.
Questions or?
I do not foresee me being able to pay this off in a lump sum or anytime soon, but we'll continue. If it goes to the taxes, then I'll just have to keep making payments on it as I can.
And you usually give a disclaimer at this point, don't you?
Well, I'll give the disclaimer after the vote, but
Oh, okay,
just
okay.
for point of clarification, he'll be sent a letter, and then we'll wait a statutory timeframe.
Okay.
And then when it's not paid, then we file the lien. So it's just, if you don't pay it, it's just eventually going to become a lien. I think we explained that when you were here during the emergency part of the hearing, but I'll do the disclaimer after the vote.
Okay, okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Summers.
Thank you.
I do have a question.
Okay,
for you, Mr.
sure, sorry.
Were the properties insured? Was there any,
No, those 2 side-by-side properties had, about a year previously, the renters that were in both those properties were moved out. The one that actually burnt, I'd spent unbelievable hours cleaning that up. And they did eventually move out, both of them. So they were both vacant, and I hadn't received. They both left me water bills and whatever. So instead of paying the insurance, I paid those. Both properties were under contract within a couple weeks. I would have
contract
closed.
under contract how?
The buyer.
They were sold,
With the buyer?
yeah.
They were under contract?
Yeah,
so-
rather than continue to work on them, and I had plenty of other properties to work on, I just sold those 2. They were,
They hadn't
I'd have
closed.
closed on them, and
Hadn't closed, yeah.
within weeks. And I didn't pay the last of the insurance. From my understanding, I called the insurance, talked to them extensively because I have other insurance with them. And it could have possibly been a thing where I went after them that it was more considered a late payment kind of thing. But after talking to attorneys and everything with renters agreements and rental properties, there's usually a set amount of time that if you don't have it rented out again, which I would have, but I had them sold. Anyway.
Okay.
Long story short, no, I had not made my insurance payments because I thought I was out. Didn't work out. So much for my retirement plan.
Any other
Thank you.
questions? Thank you, Mr. Summers.
Thank you. I did have another question.
Sure, sure.
I don't know, do you ever do like, if I can pay it off in a lump sum, a reduced amount kind of thing? Be done with it?
We have done that one time in the past. I believe we were trying to do it in a 2-year time period, but then, or a 1-year time period, but then we worked it out for a 2-year period. So it what had been an option in the past. I don't know if you would want to do that, but at this point, if we file it as a lien, you're gonna get that year anyway. You're gonna get that, it's not gonna be due until the next year's taxes are due anyway. So I don't know if you would want to go through the trouble of doing that. Especially if you just default on a payment, then the law department would escalate it anyway and go ahead and file the lien, so.
So he really, am I hearing correctly, he doesn't really have to address that for a year? Because it's going to take a while.
I think the way the county tax laws work, we would file a lien and then it wouldn't come due until the next.
So sounds like he's got a year to kind of see where your situation lands, right?
Right.
Yeah, so
Six
it gives you some time to think about it and work out your plan.
Yeah, well, yeah, that does help tremendously. Hopefully I can get the other property up and fixed up and
Right.
rented and,
I don't know what the county charges as far as any interest. We just filed the flat lien amount.
I think it's around $45. But your taxes would continue to have to be paid on it. So you'd want to keep that current. as
Yeah,
well.
this type of lien is a super lien, so it would be due along with the taxes.
Okay.
And I don't know if the county has any kind of payment plan. I don't know.
Okay.
So,
well, when that comes up, I'll be looking into that.
okay.
Thanks,
I hit the lottery in the meantime.
There you go.
thank you.
And if
Mr.
you stick around, I have information about appealing this, because that is something that you would want to know, even though
Yeah, we
you
just.
may not appeal this.
We need to vote, and then Assistant City Attorney Vessels will have some more information for you here in just a minute.
Okay,
Okay?
all right,
Thank you, Mr. Summers.
thank you.
Okay, I guess.
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I make a motion to affirm and submit the amount of the cost and claims for the payment associated with the prior emergency action taken by the enforcement authority for the property located at 1214 North D Street, which includes the actual cost incurred and the administrative processes expense permitted by the Indiana Code.
Second.
We have a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Okay, so this affirmed order, Mr. Summers, this affirmed order can be appealed to the Wayne County Circuit or Superior Court within 10 days. It has to be filed within 10 days of today's hearing. It's in accordance with Indiana Code 3679. So if you want to appeal that, there is an appeal process that you could do. It's sort of more of a request for judicial review. But that is something that I proactively tell people who show up to these kinds of hearings, because you do have that right to seek that judicial review if you so desire. Thank you.
Thank you.
Imagine why I was wanting to pursue something like that, but thank you.
Right,
It's just,
right. Thank you.
okay. The next property is 1022 Perry Street, cost hearing. Inspector James?
Yes.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry,
This
Cedric.
cost hearing 1022 Perry Street. The deeded owners was Donald Ballinger Jr. and Brian Ballinger. Title search, Figure 1018-2023, for 1022 Perry. This is the front side, on the south, you can see all the trash and debris located. They're piled up by the door and just scattered around the yard. This is the east side, trash and debris and broken windows. Trash and debris just laid all about the property. This is from the east into the rear, north side of the yard. There's trash, debris, and glass present. You see tires and north side of the property, same as the last slide, with a slightly different angle, different viewpoint of it. This is the rear north side of the property, trash, debris, broken mower, pop-up RV, it's just been sitting there for a while. They weren't gonna do anything with it. Gasoline container, large amounts of trash, debris, and glass in the yard. That is from the east to the west on the side street there. Let's get a closer look at the front of the yard and what was laying there and how the depth of it. These are after pictures. You can see this on the south side, front, completely cleaned up. This is from the east, post cleanup. Good. And this is from the north. 1020 period, post cleanup, from 1023, 2023. Contract with the highlighted amount, $750 to contractor. Recorded notice of unpaid costs. The amount of $2,490, excuse me. And the administrative fees. Highlighted in the amount of $1,740. So the administrative fees and the contractor fees equaling $2,490. We're asking the Unsafe Building Commission make a motion to affirm the cost of $2,490 for the emergency cleanup of the property located at 1022 Perry Street.
We have anybody here to speak on the property at 1022 Perry Street? Any questions?
Okay, well, then I'll make a motion to affirm the emergency action taken by the Enforcement Authority for the property located at 1022 Perry Street as recommended by the enforcement authorities and based upon the information provided by the enforcement authorities with respect to the condition of the property.
A second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. That's the last property. Do we have anything else, any comments, or? Okay. I have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carried. We are adjourned. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for all your preparation.